Online influence can have a massive effect on the brain and on what people are going to do.
Online influence.
And then was about to take Shahada, become a Muslim.
About to take Jihad. Okay.
Got very ill for about a year. No contact with anyone. No one contacted me. Doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. Was in a constant cycle of anger, regret, and trying to figure things out my own way.
And you're bedridden, of course, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what happened?
And then I thought, let me just try the Jesus way. Let me see if this actually works.
If all else fails and everything was failing, let me try Jesus. You
Exactly.
tried Jesus, what happened?
What happened was prayed for 12 hours straight, fasted for 4 days.
Okay.
Next day, figured out what was wrong with me and was healed in 3 weeks.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, I want to welcome you to the Men of Honor podcast. You got to ask that question. What does honor look like nowadays? Well, this is a podcast series where we're going to explore men who are actually men of integrity, who've gone through things, ups, downs. They've figured out how to turn purpose into pain. If you're someone out there and you're wondering, what does it look like to be a man of honor? Am I a man of honor? This is the space for you. You want to watch these stories. These are real men, real struggles, real ups and downs, and they're real men of honor. Hey guys, I am here with another incredible young man that wants to change this nation. This is Isaiah Gill, 18 years old, and his dream is to become the prime minister of this country and change it from the ground on up. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to another interview with my attempt and our attempt to really give men honor, to respect men of all nations, all backgrounds, and to really give the masculine voice a voice other than the YouTube toxic masculinity, angry guy type of thing. So I brought you on the show because you are the example of an inspirational man.
Thank you.
Not only an inspirational man, but an inspirational young man. So I got a few details on you. I have here written down, your dream is to become prime minister. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. And you say something very, very interesting. And you're 19 or 18?
18, just turned.
Okay. You say, fix this country. It's in spiritual and moral decline, and only God and a true Christian, a true disciple, can truly save it. Tell us about that.
From the ground up? Well, because I'm a history buff like yourself, a lot of World War II, a lot of Rome, and I see a lot of patterns in history, a lot of repeating patterns.
Okay.
Stuff with declining empires, especially. Right. So, for example, what people often focus on the Nazis in World War II. I'm using this as an example.
Sure.
And they talk about Germany before hyperinflation. People were all over the place. They were looking for ideology here, ideology there, and eventually they just settled on the Nazis. But people fail to realize the psychology behind it all, why the people went to the Nazis. Why? Because there was a sense of order. When you're in a house, for example, full of chaos, you want to go to a sense of order and unity. Right. That's why some people go outside of a chaotic house and go to the streets with like gangs and members and friends, because it feels like order. Same reason with a chaotic society. If something is in disarray or people don't feel like their voice is being heard, or things are in decline morally and spiritually and financially, they're going to go to the one thing that's going to give stability and order. In this case, it was the Nazis. The reason I'm bringing this up though is because I think there's a lot of similarities between post-World War I but pre-World War II Germany and the modern day, especially with a lot of confusion and people leaning far onto one side of the political spectrum or far onto the other side. And eventually, as all times in history, it will lead to a civil war. And without a strong central leader who actually has that belief in God and who instills that belief in God to the country, it's going to collapse.
Yeah, this is very, very huge. You said belief in God. Sadly, we live in a time where the statement, all paths lead to heaven, is something that's actually divided people. How do you, as a young person, how did you find out that the path is Jesus and God and the Bible, as opposed to did you follow any other paths before that as well?
I did. So I was born into a Christian family, Methodist.
Okay.
So I come from a Punjabi Indian background, and that's very uncommon in India, being a Christian from that area.
Yes.
So
that's the north, right?
Yeah, north, yes. So being from that area, it's very uncommon. You usually find Hindus or Muslims there. And so I was born as a Methodist. And by the age of 7 or 8, I kind of became a really atheist. I basically classified myself as an atheist because, as you can tell,
You're a 7-year-old atheist.
Yes, thinking I know so much.
Okay.
Thinking I know so much. As you can see, I really like to look into or just learn stuff in general. I'm a naturally curious person. And so I saw the initial secular ideals online. I'm like, God isn't real. There's no proof of the Bible. And that went on for about 7 years as well until I got to the age about 14, I would like to say. I was in secondary school, beginning the first couple of years of secondary school. And I started debating more in my head about the ideas of God. Because I started to think, well, if I listen to one side but refuse to listen to the other, I'm a hypocrite. So at least let me entertain it in a way. So I started looking into more about not Christianity mainly, but all the other religions. So Islam, Judaism, Hinduism. And I became agnostic in a way. I'll be like, okay, there's a belief in God, and I believe there's a God, but I don't know what it is. And that was about that for 6 months. And then this was around 2022. And it was during this time, there was a massive boom on social media of Islam. And so at that point, I was going to become a Muslim because I was about to take Shahada.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Wow.
Very serious.
How did you how did you get there?
A lot of influence online.
Really?
And it was a lot of
the online is a big deal.
The online is a big deal. It's a big deal.
Okay.
It's important why we're having this interview right now.
Exactly.
Because I was hearing these other ideas of like, oh yeah, how can Jesus be God and man? He's just a prophet, this and that. And I was like, okay, logically, thinking I know so much, a young teenager, this makes sense.
Sure.
So I was about to take Shahada, but weirdly enough, when I was about to do it, I got really sick during that time. And just cut off straight away. And it wasn't just like a normal, oh yeah, I'm in bed. It's not like a flu or COVID. I was in bed for about, I think it was about a year and a half or 2 years, bedridden.
Were you? I saw that and I thought that was, I thought maybe that's a typo. He wasn't bedridden for a year.
I was, yeah.
Are you serious?
So from ages 15 to 16, I was in bed. I was vomiting out. I couldn't keep any food down because I was just constantly vomiting out everything I would eat. I was paralyzed from my feet, so I couldn't stand without assistance. Wow. Blind for about a month. Nerve pain on the right side of my body, so I couldn't use my right arm.
Allergy or something? What?
So at the time, we didn't know what it was. There was a lot of different theories. We tried to go to the NHS I did the math about 20 different times, 15 to 20 times. Each time they would do blood tests and would say, we don't really know what's going on. Your best bet is just to go home and sleep it off. So obviously, being in that situation, it's easy to get annoyed at that. And then I think it was about year one, after year one ended, I just refused to go because I was thinking and was saying to my parents, they're not going to do anything. I'm just in pain in the hospital room. They can see I'm in pain. And all they're giving me is like one paracetamol and saying go home after 6 hours. So during this time, I was still debating with the idea of Islam and I was still leaning more towards it. But after year one, I was feeling really desperate and in despair because you know what it's like. Being in your house for like a week gets you down. Then being in your bedroom for a year is another story.
Were you depressed?
I don't know. Yeah, basically. Yeah. I always try and avoid using that word because I don't want to seem like vulnerable. But yeah, basically I was depressed. Yeah. And to top it off, you know how high school friends can be, secondary school friends can be. So I had a lot of friends before getting ill. During this time, no one contacted me. The only people I was in contact with was my mom, my dad, my brother who lived in my house, and my grandparents. Everyone else that I knew, no single message.
How do you feel about that?
At the time, I still try and grapple with it because when I think about it, that feelings of bitterness and anger can come up at the time especially. But now as I go on, I actually see that as beneficial for me, and I'll touch on that a bit more later. But so I have this feeling of isolation, depression, being stuck in my room, nothing's working. And so in desperation, I pick up my Bible and I just start reading. I was like, okay, if nothing else is working right now, let me go to the Bible. And perhaps then I will find an answer of why I'm still ill, why I'm going through this suffering, why people who I know who are doing drug dealing, stabbing each other, why they're not like this and I'm like this. And so I was reading it, and I think what stood out to me was the story of Joseph and his brothers, how he didn't do anything wrong, but his brothers just sold him to slavery.
Right.
And then I was like, maybe pain has a meaning to it. Suffering can lead to growth. And that's the mentality I started having, and I started to have. And then as I read more of the Bible, I started praying more. And then eventually I got into a pit of desperation where I locked myself in a room for 12 hours, my own bedroom, closed the curtains and just prayed 12 hours straight.
Wow.
I said in my mind unto God, I am not leaving until I get a sign or anything, any type of sign
Right.
as to why this is happening or that you're actually real.
And I think that's where you said something to the fact that then after you did that, did you fast? After the 12-hour prayer, you fasted?
Fasted 4 days straight, no break in my fast once. I only did water.
Oh my goodness.
And in that state of me being ill, obviously my body was like all over the place.
Right.
But faith kept me going. It didn't feel as bad as I thought it would. And that's by faith. And after, I think it was a day after, I went to a private healthcare because one of my relatives brought it up, go to this person. They said possibly it's allergies to certain foods.
That's what I was getting ready to say here.
Yeah.
It had to be some kind of allergic thing.
And so I went there and they said, okay, what's happening is you're allergic to gluten, dairy, onions, garlic, potatoes, strawberry, chocolate, and a bunch of other stuff. And they said, cut it off for 3 weeks, come back and we'll see how you are. 3 weeks later, all good. Just healed like that. A day after doing the 12-hour prayer and the fasting, I found out about that, and 3 weeks later, all good. A lot of people try and influence people through online social media. Like I was saying earlier, that's how you can get people to be riled up, believe in an idea. But also you need to have the second way. You need, I don't want to say political influence, but influence over a system, the political parties in a way. And that doesn't have to be prime minister, but prime minister would be the most efficient. Because as I was saying about Weimar earlier, when something's in moral decline, you need order and stability. And the person who has the most order and stability is the person who has the most mental order and stability. And you find that when the only person who has that the greatest is the person who's with God the greatest, who has God as their foundation. And that's what people need, because in my own mind, if I don't do it or if another disciple doesn't do it, what's going to happen? You're going to have a repeat of World War II. You're going to have a person who is not very great to be in charge, and they're going to lead us to be worse. And eventually, on a domino effect on a long enough time frame, we're going to be worse overall. And then someone crazy is going to get in charge.
Oh my goodness. Do I have an 18-year-old man that said the next prime minister needs to be a man of faith and man of the Bible?
Exactly.
Okay. I like what you said. I've studied history as well. I've looked at how Malaysia separated in Singapore and how he focused on the moral code of the country and made them economically prosperous on top of spiritually prosperous. And now Singapore is incredible. I've looked at Churchill, what he has done, and how he put his foot down and really solidified things here. Got the help of the U.S. As a young person, so you're only 18 now, right?
Yes.
So what's your next step as far as this whole vision of becoming prime minister and changing the country? Are you going to go to university, or are you just what are you going to do?
University is the plan. So
one?
Oxford University is the plan.
Oxford University.
Next year, applying for it.
Oxford University. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been accepted in any others?
Yes, I have. So I applied to King's College London, York, Durham, and Edinburgh. All of them have said yes to me.
Okay, why Oxford then?
Because the reason I want Oxford is 3 specific reasons.
Okay.
Number 1, it's basically a fast track to get into prime minister.
Okay.
I believe all prime ministers, or nearly about 28 or 30 prime ministers, study at Oxford with PPE, the course I want to do. Number 2 is the teaching style. I learn and like to learn a lot more with a conversation and going back and forth, rather than sitting in a class with 30 people listening to a person talking. I don't believe that's efficient. You only learn when you're being stimulated in your brain and you're wondering and asking questions.
So you want to, so I can envision you on the Oxford debate,
Yes.
right there in Oxford Union.
Yes.
I tried to get in Oxford Union. They give me a hard time. But I can envision you at Oxford Union going back and forth.
Bringing consensus back into Oxford.
Now, you said something about the kingdom here. You said you want everyone to see this is not just a united kingdom in theory, but you said something like the kingdom of light. What do you mean by that?
Yes. I want people around the world, when they talk about the United Kingdom, we'll say it's the nation of light, the kingdom of light, the kingdom of God on physical earth. Because I want people to have that sense of faith, not just faith in belief, but faith in action. And living out that faith, people will be like, wow, these people, they came from moral decline, but now they're risen up and now they're united under God, not under a single leader or ideology, but God.
And what are you going to say to the young person that's out there like yourself that is confused about whether they should follow Islam or Jesus? What was the big, obviously I could go on and on about my opinion, but as a young person out there trying to figure out truth, for you, it was almost like a miracle. You prayed, you got sick, you turned to God. What do you have to say to other young people out there trying to figure out which path, which tube line to get on, which train to get on, since all trains lead to the same place?
It's a lot you could say. It's a big question, but with me, I'm pretty intellectual, so I'd like to read the scriptures myself. But I know a lot of people nowadays aren't like that. So I would say, number one, don't go with your feelings. Do not go with your feelings. If you feel one way is something or one way is another, don't go with that because your feelings lie to you.
Did you hear that?
Your feelings lie to you.
Go with feelings. Go with facts.
Exactly.
Okay.
Maybe someone intellectual like myself, I would say look at the history, look at how the scriptures compare to each other, and which makes more logical sense. So one of the main ones for me was how could, like Muhammad, for example, talk about Jesus, who was 600 years after, he was 600 years after Jesus, but then claim Paul was a liar who was only half a century after.
Exactly. Yeah, I like what you've just said there. A lot of people say, hey, I'd like, I don't know if I could, kind of believe in Christianity. I like what it says in Acts chapter 17. It says he reasoned with them in the synagogue. And the reason it didn't say preach, it says he reasoned with them. And I really believe that he reasoned with them because Christianity is reasonable. Something created everything. I think that's a pretty reasonable claim to believe that a cake created itself over the course of time and just evolved into this beautiful chocolate thing with candles that are lit and all the ingredients that can feed a human. I just have a hard time with that. And I think that I like what you said about conversation, and the Bible is very reasonable. And when you may or may not know this, but I actually went down the Muslim path as well.
Did you?
Yes. And once I started looking at the history and the fact that, like you said, 600 years later, Muhammad came into the scene, how Islam started as a political construct trying to overthrow the government, and it became a religion. I'm like, wait a minute. And then I saw how the Bible predicted Islam would come. Galatians chapter 1 says, even if we or an angel speaks a different gospel, I went, wow. So that really helped me as well. Because nowadays people take sound bites on YouTube. They don't do the research themselves.
Exactly.
You've done the research.
Exactly.
Okay, I interrupted you on the second one. What's the third one?
For why Islam wouldn't be as true as Christianity, maybe I would say to people that you really need to look at the religion itself. With Christianity, you can have a back and forth dialogue. The main focus, I say, is to learn, and you have to have that back and forth dialogue. With Islam, I found you can't really question on certain things. If you do, you're labeled as an unbeliever, or you're questioning the faith, or you're about to leave.
Right.
With Christianity, we have like thousands and thousands of people who can have dialogues, thousands of texts, obviously.
Sure.
All leading to the one truth.
Sure.
Jesus is King.
Beautiful.
With Islam, if you question it enough and you start to see flaws in it, you will be labeled as unbeliever. People won't have that dialogue with you. That's the main one. If you want to figure out a religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity, have a dialogue with two people who are a Christian and who's a Muslim and see how far you can get into it.
That's a really, I've never heard it said. I believe everything you said because I've spoken to people with Islamic background. They are so close-minded. They're not willing to dialogue. Whereas even within Christendom, there's division and there's disunity. But even with that disunity, there's still dialogue.
Exactly.
Okay, you don't believe baptism saves you? Okay, well, let's talk about that. It's a normal thing. I think Christianity is reasonable.
It's interesting, isn't it? Muslims like to have the idea of it all being unified, but you can't have that dialogue. Christians, it seems divided, but you can have that dialogue all leading to the same path.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's not about who's right, it's about what is right.
Exactly.
And the Bible claims that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life.
Amen.
Islam doesn't say that, and that was one of the things for me. So
Mm.
I appreciate you. Okay, tell me this. Other than that harrowing thing that you went through growing up that really has led you to God, what do you have to say to the young people that are out there that are watching that are confused in their faith? What would you say?
Big question. Let me think. I would actually start with this, because this is one thing that really helped me. You got to first have a dream. What is your dream? Because I think in the modern day, people have their dreams crushed out by society or by friends. I use the analogy of a child when I'm talking to people about this. Children have dreams. They want to, if they didn't have a dream to walk, they wouldn't get up from crawling to walk. If they didn't have a dream to learn to read and write or to do something, they wouldn't do it. People have big dreams. Everyone has a big dream. Me, Prime Minister, evangelize the whole nations. Most people in the modern day, they have dreams that are crushed out or told that are unreasonable. And because of it, they have no faith. And because they have no faith, they feel that they're unheard. And that feeling of unheardness leads to that moral decline, because they start to have less respect for the country, less respect for their neighbors, for fellowship, for everything. So you need a dream, but you also need to have the faith behind it. Have a big dream and decide, with all the religions, which one allows you to have most faith, not in your dream, but in God, to actually have it come true.
Wow, that's a very powerful way of saying it. So, number one, you need a vision. It's kind of like what the Bible says, where there's no vision, the people perish.
Exactly.
So you need a vision. Number two, you need a vision bigger than your own humanistic insight, influence, economic power. You need something that needs God.
Exactly.
Whereas in Islam, there is no such thing as a dream that really needs Allah. It's just like what Allah tells you to do. Christianity, when you look at even the first century church, they needed God to evangelize the nations. In fact, they changed the world. The Bible says they turned the world upside down. Yeah. But that was after being called unschooled ordinary idiote in Greek, which is unschooled ordinary idiots. So a bunch of idiots changed the entire world. Why? Because of God. So I like that thinking there. Have a dream, have a vision so big, you need God to do it.
You know, there's a myth in ancient Greek. Have you ever heard of the sword of Damocles?
Of course I've heard of the sword.
Yes.
I've spoken about the sword of Damocles.
The sword of Damocles.
Several times.
For the viewers watching, sword of Damocles is a story about a man, a servant of a king, who wanted to sit on the throne of the king. And the king said, go ahead. And he let him for a day, but he wanted to replicate the feeling of what it's like having the pressures of a king, having people wanting your head constantly. So he tied a sword with a single horse's hair above the throne. When the servant sat down, he was ecstatic. He had everything he wanted until he looked up and he saw the sword. And he started to panic. And for the whole day, he was trying to get up, but the other servants wouldn't let him. And the whole day he was anxious, shaking. And by the end of the day, he ran out of the throne, and the king took back the throne. When I'd say it to people, I bring it to God, because let's say if someone had true faith and true belief in God, would they be anxious? No, they would be sitting there knowing that if the sword falls, it's God. But let me have faith in God to know that this isn't yet my time, and that my vision that God has laid on my heart has to come true.
Wow. So it just sounds to me like you said that this vision is so great, you're willing you can give your life for it.
Exactly.
Well, there you have it. We have one of the most inspirational young people in this country. Be praying for Isaiah. Of course, if you do become prime minister, remember me. Okay,
I'll remember everyone.
Lower council tax. Okay, and don't make it a crime to be American in the United Kingdom. Okay, if you could do that, that would be amazing.
Of course.
I mean, what's the big picture? How are we going to change it? Yeah, what's that big dream you have?
Okay, prime minister.
Okay,
and then a lot of social media. Prime minister, yes. Then a lot of social media, because people are influenced by the country and by the policies, but also by social media. People need a leader that won't just tell them what to do, but they feel heard and they look up to you. And how do people look up to you? It's when you're living a life they respect and they want to live as well. They respect your lifestyle. People respect a disciple's lifestyle. Abstaining from a lot of sin. You're trying to evangelize others. You're actively helping them live better lives. That's something a lot of people can get behind. Okay. And if you're making people feel heard as well, they're going to come to you. And that's what, in the end, that's all it is. As in, in the Bible, in the New Testament as well, the disciples, they were lost, but they wanted to be heard. Jesus shepherded them and gave them that voice. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I like what you just said there, and I have my own personal reasons for some of the decisions I made to separate myself from how I was raised. I was raised quite poor, and I still had friends in different spheres, so I made my choices. But you're clearly a very handsome young man.
Thank you.
What was your upbringing? What'd your mom do?
My mom didn't work. Normal stay-at-home mom.
Dad?
Retail, working class, basically.
Grew up poor?
Yeah. Not poor, but like, I wouldn't say poor because we never really struggled for money, but we never really had enough money to get the nice luxuries of like holidays or travel. I never been outside the country because we never could afford it.
Wow. And born in, well, you were raised in Oxford?
Yeah, born in Oxford.
Born in Oxford, raised in Oxford. Okay.
My mom comes from a council house there and my dad migrated from India.
Wow. So you probably have a heart for the poor.
Yeah.
You look like $1 million.
Thank you.
I'm sure you know my theology behind how a person carries themselves, which is one of the things that drew me to you. How you present, how you carry yourself, specifically after baptism. I remember you coming around, or at least some interactions, but after baptism, even you speaking to me afterwards and saying, "I want to tell you my dream now." You know, I like that. Tell me a little bit about that. What was it that made you? Why the excellence?
This is actually a lesson for everyone watching. People like to attach who they are now to their upbringing or where they came from. People like to think, oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z because I'm this ethnicity, this race. I grew up in this way. I don't fit in with this class of people because I don't talk the way they do.
Right.
But that's just mental barriers. Mental barriers that's keeping you from leveling up, but also diversifying the people you know.
Right.
And in the end, I think there's a saying, I'm gonna butcher this because I can't remember off the top of my head, but your network is everything. The people you know is everything. People like to use that for business, but it's not just about business, it's about friends. The people you surround yourself with. If you want to be around people who are gonna help you do better, be better yourself.
Right.
Don't classify yourself or box yourself in because you think, oh, I was raised in this class, I was raised in working class, so I'm gonna act this certain way. I'm gonna carry a knife. I'm gonna wear tracksuits and just go out in the street. You can come from anywhere and be anything. This is an enigma. I am not supposed to be dressing like this from the place I came from. Mom doesn't work. Dad works in retail, and yet I, as you said, dress myself the way I do, present myself the way I do, because everything is made because. It's like the vision thing I was saying earlier. If you have a vision, you truly want it, you can do it. You can do anything you want if you put your mind to it and you have God beside you. It doesn't matter about where you came from, the limitations you put yourself in, the place where you grew up, the people you know currently, because you may meet better people in the future. It matters about what you want and how you're going to get there.
It's not about where you are, it's about who you are.
Exactly.
I like that. And I think that a lot of people are running the Victim Olympics.
Exactly.
Like you do not believe in that. I like that. That was one of the things that inspired me to start charity and do the things that I did in my life. So when I see another young man doing what you're doing and carrying yourself with excellence, with class, you're well-spoken, you have pretty big dreams, especially after being baptized and becoming a true Christian. This is huge. What would you say to the young person out there from your area or from your ends, or however you would say it, that just doesn't have the faith to be Isaiah? What would you say to them? That he's being influenced by the gangs. He's been influenced by his postcode. He's identifying with his community a little bit too much. He has no dream. What would you say to him?
Good question, because the place where I live, I have a drug dealer flat here, council estates here, and more drug dealers here. And I'm just dead in the middle. What I would say to them is one question. Why? Why for everything? Why do you believe the way you do? Why do you believe that you should be doing this? Why do you believe you can't be better? Why do you not have the faith that you can be better? And it's all about getting them to think, because you can preach to someone all day, but if they're not thinking about it, properly, they're never going to change. And the human brain can never ignore a question. Just ask people, why? You can guide people to a conclusion, but you can't force them. If you constantly ask a why and get them to think, get them to think about what they actually want, get them to think about why they want it, why they're staying the way they are, because in the end, everything is a choice. You can do anything you want. The universe is your oyster. You can do anything. So just ask them, why? Why do you believe you can't be better? Because everyone self-limits to a degree. It's just the degree that you do it is going to measure your success.
Okay. I love that. I got a couple others, and I'm going to leave you. One of the things I had to learn is, although I had bad surroundings and I made different decisions, I needed God. What do you think are the things in you that God has changed practically? Like, what were things you did before you had a relationship with God? What are things that you see as, these are just not a part of my life? Like, how does God, outside of your great dreams you've just shared, how does God really get the glory, or how has he gotten the glory? How has he, better, maybe I could say, how has, what personal things have you overcome? Why follow God?
So before God, I'm naturally a really high ambitious person. But with ambition, there's also a dark side. You can get angry really quickly. You can be egotistical. You can be constantly anxious because you think you're not doing enough. And you can be disappointed in others quickly because they're not working as efficiently as you are. And so that's something I suffered with a lot. And I think it was about ages 15 before I got ill. I would be a high performer in school and also be trying to do other stuff on the side, trying to learn this, trying to do this, trying to do this. And I would be very highly ambitious. But if anyone disturbed my workflow, I would lash out really quickly. I would get really egotistical. And if they try to politely say, why are you being so rude to me? My ego would kick in. They're not as good as me. They just don't understand. And that's something that's really changed now that I'm a Christian. I have a lot more peace with not only myself, but with everyone else. I can see people with a lot more empathy nowadays. See people as, okay, each to their own. They're struggling with their own things. People need to be given that empathy, that grace. And also, we live in a chaotic world, and as a result, people are mirrors of the world they live in. People are chaotic themselves. People naturally gravitate to peace. If you're a peaceful person with God, people are going to gravitate towards you.
Wow.
And that's something I've really noticed. Now that I'm more peaceful, less anxious, because now I used to be really anxious with my work. If I had a little thing not done, or even if I did complete my work, I'll be like, I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do more. Now I can have that faith in God and that peace knowing I've done enough now. The rest is in God's hands. And because of that, more people are drawn in because they sense that sense of peace. I bet you can relate with that as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like since you become a Christian, you have mental clarity, you have peace, you have empathy for others. So, I mean, London, it's hard to have empathy in London. I mean, when I moved here, I thought there were two kinds of people that are mad and people that are mad that everybody's mad. And then I started being the people that are mad that everybody's mad. But I was like, man, everybody's mad here. What's wrong with everybody? It's so mad. And I realized I'm mad that everybody's mad. I was like, oh my goodness. So to hear you at 18 years old say, since you become a Christian, you now have moral clarity, you now have peace, and empathy is huge. Now, let me ask this. I don't make an assumption, but were you ever tempted with the environment you were in? Were you ever tempted with wanting to do the drug thing or carry a weapon to protect yourself? Or were those temptations? Did you have friends that were struggling with those things?
I had friends who were struggling with it a lot. So vaping, drinking, drug dealing, weed, a lot of it. For me, it was never really an issue of me being tempted. I was more tempted by other stuff, lust, of course. And I've noticed each person has their own sin they struggle with. That's basic. But if you look deeper, because for example, me, I like my knowledge and my ambition. I was drawn to more of the dangerous stuff of like occult stuff, which I shouldn't know. So that was something I struggled with.
Yeah, you got into Satanism, didn't you?
I did.
That's
Satanism before I became a disciple.
That's right. And how deep did you go?
Very deep. Very deep. At one point, I'm just going to be vulnerable and be open. One point I did a blood offering. Yeah.
And did you feel any spirit or anything come into you, or did you feel different?
I did feel different, but it's weird. you do feel stuff with Satanism and with that pagan, esoteric, occult stuff. But in the wrong sense, you feel powerful outwardly, but in the inside, it's like a parasite. The more you do it, you feel powerful in the initial stage, but then you need more after you. It's like a high. You need more. You're escalating. It's the same thing. So it went from initial curiosity to the point where I needed it to feel good. I needed to draw on and make other people feel worse, try and curse other people with like black magic, all that stuff. To feel good, to feel like I'm powerful.
Are there other kids out there you think are still that are looking at Satanism as an answer?
Of course.
Wow. What would you say? What percentage of kids that are looking at Satanism, which as you described it, is an ever increasing evil? What percentage would you say, just as a young person?
As a young person, I could say anywhere from 10 to 20%, because a lot of people are drawn in without even.
Whoa. 10 to 20%.
Yeah.
Are you
and
sure?
The reason I'm saying that is because
20%.
20%. The reason I'm saying that is because a lot of people are drawn in without even realizing it. That's how I was drawn in. I only realized about halfway through, because a lot of the mild stuff is pretty, you can be drawn in really easily. Saying certain things, doing certain things. And I think a lot of people are disillusioned with religion as a whole, and they try to turn to other stuff. And that other stuff, even if it's not plain right, worshipping the devil or stuff like that, even the mild stuff, which is very hidden and concealed, which still classifies as that stuff, is very common. And that eventually leads you down that road.
So if you were in Parliament right now and you saw a charity like ours doing the work that we do, and you were Prime Minister, what law would you pass to support something like what we're doing? What would you do?
What would I do?
Given your background, let's fast forward.
Of course, support it. That's a obvious, support it. But also, it's the media thing. Me supporting it is good, but it's not enough. You need everyone backing it, which comes back to the social media thing I was talking about. You need to show people what you're doing, and social media is a leverage. How it affected my brain on the negative side can also affect other people's brain on the positive side.
Wow.
So I would really push for a lot more social media and a lot more coverage of it. Platforming, exactly. Showing people the good. Because nowadays on social media especially, you see all this negative news, getting people down, getting people all depressed. Oh, this is happening. There's no hope. People need hope.
Right.
We live in a world of nihilism. We need hope.
I like that. You know, John Tompkins' study years ago is one of the ones that sits close to my heart. And it was the study. This is a university in America where they took two lab rats, wild, crazy lab rats, put them in water and saw how long they would survive in water before they drowned. 14 minutes and they drowned. They took two more lab rats, put them in water. And right before the 14-minute, they yanked the two rats out of the water as an experiment. And they were wild, untamed, just like the other ones that died. And after they took the two out, right before they drowned to death, they put them back in the water. And the experiment exposed the power of hope, because once they put them back in the water, the rats swam for 60 more hours. Why? The power of hope. The power of knowing I was saved once, somebody's going to come and save me. So they swam 60 hours as opposed to 15 minutes before. That just tells you the power of hopelessness. Someone who's a 15-minute into their pain, they just give up and grab a knife, do a vape, do anger or whatever, versus someone who has hope, someone who's been quote unquote saved out of water.
Exactly.
Which is who you are. You are hope. So
saying that reminds me of another analogy I've heard before. It's something very similar. Someone said to me before, imagine you have two people, they're both lit on fire.
Yep.
One person believes there's no hope, the fire's never going to go out. And the other person is told that the fire is going to be put out in 10 seconds by another person, and he believes it. First person also is told, but he doesn't believe it. In the end, first person is going to die because he has no hope. Second person is going to sit through actual flames, and live because he has the hope that he's going to live. He has that belief.
There you have it. This is hope for the nations. You are incredible, Isaiah.
Thank you.
And I'm casting my vote for this man as the Prime Minister right there.
Thank you.
So I want to encourage you, like, subscribe, share the episode, send us all your comments, other men of honor that you think should make this space We thank you so much for listening.